This is a demonstration of Wirecast. This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Operating on the wrong limb, or leaving a medical implement in the patient, or a patient who goes into a healthcare system and comes away with an infection that they got in the facility, things like that. So not quite as safe as transportation, but still 300,000 to 25 is pretty good. Let's play a little Price is Right. Does anybody want to guess what the number is in criminal justice? This is a lot like the way my class starts. So there's this uncomfortable silence, and then I keep asking the same question.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
1,000. Higher or lower? Higher. Who's going to give me a number higher? 30. 30 is not higher than 1,000. 30,000. That's higher than 1,000. Okay. So the true answer is we don't know, which is a problem in and of itself. And we don't know because we don't keep the records, because the feedback loops are late, and because we often don't know when we've made a mistake. But there are a variety of approaches that people have made to try and get at it.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
We know from some work done by the National Register of Exonerations that there are actually enough death penalty exonerations, and the death penalty population is limited enough that we can do statistical analysis to understand how many times we get it wrong in a capital punishment context, in the most serious, most examined context. And the answer there is 4%. Okay, so 4% of people on death row, statistically speaking, are likely innocent. And the kind of frightening challenge there is we actually don't know who those people are.
This is a demonstration of
That are
Wirecast.
innocent, but we know that they are. But we've done some other research that puts that number as high as 8% based on people who have been convicted of crimes, self-reported admissions about whether or not they did the crime. I think a conservative estimate is somewhere in the 2% range, which would mean that for every 300,000 convictions, you've got 7,500 mistakes. And the question that we ask at the Quattrone Center is, why is that number so high? And what can we do to prevent errors?
This is a
Ben Franklin said,
demonstration
"An ounce
of
prevention
Wirecast.
is worth a pound of cure." You know that that's true because we are here at the University of Pennsylvania, and I am required to mention Ben Franklin every time I make a public speech. So seriously though, litigation is an excellent tool for remediating a past error. Litigation can also be an excellent tool for enforcing accountability and policy, but one of the questions is, what are we going to do going forward? Litigation looks backwards and says, how do we fix something that's already happened?
There it is, right?
The question we ask at the Quattrone Center is, how can we look forward and put changes in place that will prevent these things?
This is a demonstration of
And I'm
Wirecast.
going to spend a little bit of time now talking about a British organizational management guru named James Reasons, who has spent a lot of time thinking about complex systems, because the core precept of what we're talking about here is that the principles that healthcare and aviation use to go from however many errors they have to 2 per 3,000 to 25 per 300,000, that we can use those same policies and procedures to make criminal justice bring that number of errors down from 750,000 to something much, much, much more acceptable. Now, Reasons talks about the Swiss cheese model
This is a demonstration of
errors in
Wirecast.
complex systems. And the way he thinks about it is, think about the criminal justice system as a block of Swiss cheese, okay? But think of the interactions that happen from investigation of a crime, from commission of a crime, through investigation and arrest, through the adjudication of that crime, through sentencing, through post-appellate, incarceration, probation and parole, and re-entry. That's your block of Swiss cheese, and each of those little spaces that I talked about is a slice of Swiss cheese.
This is a
The
demonstration
holes
of
represent the potential
Wirecast.
for error at each phase. So with every human interaction that goes on in the criminal justice system, and there are many, there is an opportunity for error. Error now defined as something that leads to an unintended outcome. Okay? So their misconduct, which is what we most often think of in criminal justice because our job is to allocate blame, Misconduct is a subset of error, but there are an awful lot of things that happen in the criminal justice system where we either just get it wrong or where we do something that we think is right that leads to an unintended consequence. And it's those errors and
This is a
misconduct that we're
demonstration
trying
of
to solve.
Wirecast.
Now, most of the time, in Reason's Swiss cheese metaphor, most of the time, let's say we arrest somebody who isn't in fact the perpetrator of the crime. That's, you've gone through the whole now in your error slice. And most of the time, we'll have a sergeant who reviews that, or a DA at the screening phase, or a public defender who comes up with information on an alibi, or a jury that will acquit that person. And each one of those is a situation where we go through one or two holes in the Swiss cheese, but then we hit a solid piece in the Swiss cheese, and we catch that.
This is a demonstration
error, okay?
of Wirecast.
But sometimes, all the holes in our Swiss cheese line up. Sometimes, something goes wrong at each phase of the system. Now, in aviation, that's a plane crash. In healthcare, that's a never event. And in criminal justice, that's an inaccurate conviction.
Is that running at 10?
Okay? Those are the things, the sentinel events that happen when we get errors all the way through our system. But those are also wonderful learning opportunities, because what that means is not only did we have an error that we can learn from, but
This
all of
is
the
a
existing
demonstration
checks and
of
balances in our
Wirecast.
system likewise failed to catch the error. And so there's a shared opportunity for all of us to learn together how to reduce these errors. And so we convene people, bring them together, and think about these, whether they are unsafe acts or preconditions for those acts that allowed them to happen, or failures to supervise, or organizational influences that lead us in directions we don't want to go. And so that's the Swiss cheese model. And Reasons has supplemented that Swiss cheese model with 12 rules, of which